Another reason you want this pad is if your shop doesn't have a dedicated area for cutting circles, you could place this on top of even your nicest counter, and because this will be the sacrificial board if you overcut or make an error as far as depth is concerned, you'll dig into this pad and you could relayer this pad over and over. Nothing's going to hurt it and you're not going to ruin your countertops. So that's another reason for this pad. It's a great way to save a lot of countertops. Now to set up your measurements, I want to go over the steps on how you do that. And there's actually a couple of key sequences that you want to do it in order to lessen your error as far as the diameter and the thickness of your ring is concerned. First things that you want to do is drill your circle in the approximate center. Using some sort of straight edge, you want to mark the center of your piece. Assuming that you want, if you're cutting a circle that's, let's say 10 inches like I'll be doing here, you want the piece to be approximately ½ an inch over the size of the ring that you're cutting. So we're going to have a 11 by 11 piece of wood to cut a 10-inch ring. Outer diameter of the ring is going to be 10 inches. Once you mark the center of your board, you just want to use an 1/8 inch bit because the perfect circle has an 1/8 inch pin. And you'll drill the hole first. And the reason why this is important is because you want to drill the hole and then make your measurements for your ring first. A lot of people get carried away while they have it out and they'll do their measurements, then drill the hole afterwards. But when you're drilling your hole, you're not always going to be exactly on your mark. Your mark is going to be off a little bit and then your diameter is off your ring, depending on how precise you're trying to be. But try to make it a rule of thumb. Drill your hole first and then make your measurements after that based on where you actually drilled your hole rather than the X marks the spot where you thought you were going to drill your hole. Once you drill your hole, you want to kind of clean the hole out so that you can have a clear view of where the edge is, and then take your ruler and make your measurements outward from there. When you're making measurements for your ring, in this case I'm going to make a ring with a 10-inch outer diameter and a 9-inch inner diameter just for simplicity's sake. One of the best tools that you can have for this is the center fine ruler, which makes the math simple. This ruler has a 0 point in the middle and has 30-second increment markings, and it goes out from the center. And they have these in 24-inch and in 36-inch wide lengths. Also available from Mobile Solutions. When you're marking your hole, I know it sounds like a silly thing and a silly thing, you know, that I'm beating a dead horse, but you want to measure after you drill your hole so that you can make a really accurate ring. What you want to do is set the center of your center finer ruler right in the middle of your hole, and then from then mark out half the distance of your inner and your outer cut. So if you have a 9-inch inner, you're going to have 4.5, and then the 10-inch ring for the outer, you're going to mark it at 5 inches. So what you want to do is line up your center of your zero right in the middle of the hole, and then mark out 4.5 and at 5 inches, which is the inner ring cut. Half of 9 is 4.5 and half of 10 is 5 inches. Another thing that you're going to want to do is put an X on the scrap side of both of your cuts, and the reason for that is so you don't make a mistake and cut on the wrong side of your marking. So the X goes on the side that you're going to have the scrap cut on, and that's just a standard kind of industry way of marking the scrap side. Now the reason for marking the measurements on the MDF, because it really beats the other way of marking or measuring the hole by having the router flipped over and trying to measure between the router bit and the guide pin. That's how I started trying to do it, and I used to make a lot of errors in cutting just by maybe a 32nd or 1/16 of an inch, but sometimes those measurements really matter when you're trying to build something that fits properly and securely with vinyl gap or a paint gap or no gap, and you're trying to make something really precise and you have that kind of error, you're going to have a lot of rings that are scrap. So the old way of measuring between here and here with a tape measure, don't do that. mark your measurements on your piece of wood or acrylic or whatever that you're cutting and go from there.